What's up YouTube? This is Eric Kelly, aka The Tech Gentleman, bringing you guys another video. Today we're going to be doing my final thoughts and a bit of a farewell to the Samsung Galaxy Note 9. Before we get going though, I want to remind you guys, make sure you hit me up on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. The links will be in the description below. As you know, as of right now, Google Plus is dead, so no more Google Plus. But also, if you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. And if you got any comments or questions, leave them in the comment section below. I'll make sure to get back to you. But without further ado, let's talk tech. So the Note 9. I've had the Note 9 for about 6 months now. And I gotta admit, it's gonna be kind of bittersweet letting it go. I was kind of hesitant to get it at first, definitely because I had the Note 8. And the biggest question with the Note devices is always, is it worth the upgrade from the previous year? And I think this year or last year, the upgrade was as incremental as it could possibly be, with you kind of going from the Note 8 having a very similar design as this to the Note 9. But the Note 9 really fixed pretty much all the complaints you had with the Note 8. Fixed the battery life, feels a little bit better in hand, brought down the fingerprint sensor, better cameras, better display. It's a little bit flatter, got rid of some of that curve. Really just stepped up the phone in pretty much every way. Of course, it has the latest and greatest processor at the time, which was the Snapdragon 845. Started out with 6 gig of RAM and 128 gigs of storage. So it really was that beast of a phone that people kind of got to know the Note series for being. Really, revived the series. But I was hesitant because it was also super expensive. And at the time I had my Note 8, and I held out as long as possible until I got a great deal on the Note 9. So I was able to trade in my Note 8 towards the Note 9, and I ended up getting, I think I got this for like $380, like just a little south of $400 after trading it in, and that's with it being $1,000 starting out. So that was a pretty good deal. I was happy with that. And just with my time with the phone, I've been very pleased. I know Samsung has always kind of struggled with software and slowdown. And I had confidence this phone wouldn't do that because the S9 Plus held up so well. My wife still has it. Had it since day one. I had one as well, and had other phones. Ended up coming back to my Note 8, and I thought that was going to ride me out until this year's Galaxy S devices came out. But when I saw the deal on the Note 9, had to grab it, and just want to give you my final thoughts since I've had the device. It's been a great phone. I know that sounds kind of cliche to say, but it really has. And that's with me finally getting Android Pie. And this is the unlocked version. As you can see, I have the silver. So this is unlocked. Last to get it. Verizon, Sprint, AT&T, T-Mobile, everywhere else got the Pie update before I got it on this direct from Samsung unlocked device. So that put a little bit of salt in my mouth. I was on the beta, so I wasn't as, hurt as I would have been if I was stuck on Oreo and I didn't have the major interface upgrades that you get with Pie. So that wasn't that big of a deal for me, but nonetheless, it still kind of sucked. But outside of that, the software has been surprisingly consistent, right? The speed, the fluidity, that smoothness, it hasn't really slowed down. As you can see, I have a crap ton of apps on here, and it used to be I would kind of, between storage and performance, you'd have to balance what you put on your phone, right? Not the case with this guy, right? 120 gigs of storage, you can install a lot of stuff and be nowhere near, that storage cap. So the temptation to just install stuff and try it out and install stuff definitely goes up. But luckily the phone's speed and fluidity, stays there with you. It might not be 100% as snappy as it was out the gate, but it definitely has held up better than any other Samsung device has in the past. And it makes sense, it has better specs and all of that, but every year you have better specs, and Samsung devices usually are kind of plagued with the same slowdown. So I'm happy to see that hadn't hit this newer Galaxy series, and hopefully continues in the future. I got high hopes for the S10, but as I'm saying right now, I'm making this video to say I'm getting rid of the Note 9. I've got a Mate 20 Pro coming in, and usually once I usually always end up getting the Note device, and once you get the Note device, that's a wrap for the year, right? Until the next series of Galaxy S devices comes out. I usually end up picking up one of those, but I still might not end up dropping my Note for the obvious reasons that the Note device has the S Pen, something I love, something I've held on to, and it's usually better in a couple of other ways, battery life, beefier specs and things like that. But this year, well, really starting in 2017, OnePlus, started coming out with 2 devices per year. They had their 5T, and the devices were always well spec'd, but they didn't look that good. And so last year was the first time I got a OnePlus device and really started exploring devices that weren't available in the US market. So I got a OnePlus 6, actually had a couple of them in pretty much all the colors they came in, but still ended up falling back to my Note 8 eventually. I got the V35, which I'm filming on right now, and just ended up going back to my Note 8 just because of that, the S Pen and the screen size. It was one of the few phones that didn't have a notch last year. There's a couple of things that just kept me from really just loving other devices, and like I said, got a great deal, ended up going to the Note 9, and since then I've been very pleased. The video camera, I love the S9 Plus video cameras. And these have, essentially the same camera setup. So I love that, love the display, the size, the battery life was a huge redeeming quality in this phone compared to the Note 8. If you had a Note 8, the battery life was extremely mediocre. It was okay at best. Definitely not deserving of, that Note title as far as battery life goes. You got a bigger phone, you expect bigger battery life, and the Note 8 was not delivering that at all. So, between that and then just the fact that it's so well made, it's so well built, that's just something that, you can't say enough for, because there are a lot of phone companies trying to, compromise and, find their own way. And, they might compromise build quality in that process, in the attempt to cram a lot of things into a phone while still making it light and all of that stuff. But this Note really has that feel down. Big battery, big screen, but it's still, still not unwieldy in one hand, so I say that to say it's tough to give this phone up, but the Huawei's have been calling me, man. Starting out last year with that P20 Pro. Then they came out with the Mate 20 Pro at the end of last year. The P30 just dropped here, but there's no way I'm paying that much money for a phone. So I've been looking at the P20s, and they are down to, some great deals. Managed to grab one for a little over $600, a black one, pristine condition off Swappa. So I think I'll be happy with that. Pretty much an even swap for what I sold my Note for. So I think it's time to go ahead and, dip my toes in that Huawei pond, if you will. And that's what I plan on doing. I'll definitely be following up with you guys in the future. But my final thoughts on the Note 9, if things go south with this Huawei, I'll be back. Believe that. Because as of right now, I'm waiting on the Note 10. That's the only device, the only interesting device that's coming out. HTC is out the game. LG they already showed us their cards. They're unimpressive, basically regurgitated stuff from last year. Only people really doing interesting stuff right now, I hate to say it, the Chinese companies, man. They're fighting like cats and dogs over there, trying to come up with the latest innovations and, constantly pushing the limits and the boundaries and stuff like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and see what see what the hype is about. But I'll keep you guys updated, in tune. Definitely watch out, like I said, on Instagram, Twitter, not Google Plus, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook for updates. But if you're thinking about getting the Note 9, now is actually a great time to buy. You can get, like I say, this one, is pretty clean. Got one little scratch on it, but they're at great prices right now. You can get them cheaper than S10 and S10 Pluses. And if you don't want a notch, you don't want a hole punch, these are some of the, these are one of the phones that you can still get that has none of that. 6.4 inch screen, QHD, OLED, of course, Samsung's, top of the line screens. They got it. So I feel like they're still a very, very viable phone. Still very smooth performance. Gameplay is great. Cameras are great. I don't know what else to tell you. If you've been on the fence, now it's time to do it. The price is right. But if you got any questions, guys, want to know anything else about the Note 9, definitely hit me up in the comments. And until next time, guys, I'll talk to you. Peace.